Hello, YouTube. All right, let's get Instagram Live up. Make sure that we're set up all good. Hello, my loves. Welcome to day one of Identity Mastery. And this is all about how you can do everything when it comes to creating who you are to conspire to create the best life possible. And I've got notes up here. So if you see me looking over here, that is exactly why, because I am taking notes directly from what I teach my clients. And the next 2 days of identity mastery is really, as the name suggests, mastering yourself, mastering your identity, mastering how you see yourself, mastering how you see yourself in this world. And I'm really excited because this is one of my favorite topics ever, hence why I'm teaching it. Also, a bit of a different weird background. I am currently in Phuket, Thailand, where I'm going live. And so just before I head out for the day, I'm like, I'm in the energy. I've had a coffee. I've also had this like matcha drink. It wasn't like a iced matcha. It had something else in it. I don't know. It was great. So I'm good. I am really excited to share what I have got up here because I believe that a lot of the reasons why we actually struggle to become who we want to be, or why we always feel like we're attracting a roadblock, or why we always feel like we're attracting something that doesn't go in our favor. Number one, everything is working out in direct correlation with your point of attraction. So before we go into a little bit when it comes to identity mastery and being able to master your identity, I really want to speak about this because it's a great like setup for what we're going to be speaking about in this live and the second live of identity mastery. Now, everything I speak about today, this is all related to my container identity evolution, which starts next week. It is 4 weeks. We go deep into subconscious reprogramming of your subconscious identity, being able to understand what patterns you have with your identity, why maybe sometimes you struggle to really change your self-concept. And also we'll be diving deep into the levels of consciousness, because your identity is actually just a form of the consciousness that you have attached to, and how to change that, how to neutralize. A lot of people actually don't work in their favor because they're highly triggered. If we have a pendulum, they're looking like this on the emotional scale of the pendulum. And so identity evolution, I'm going to take bits and pieces from that program that starts next week. It's 4 weeks. Super excited for the women that are already in there. And I'm going to just teach you some things that you can go into deeper into identity evolution. But everything that I teach you in these trainings, if you start to take action on, I promise you, if you actually take this, you take notes, you listen to this a couple of times, and you start to take action on the things that I'm sharing with you, I promise that you will start to see a very, very clear and distinct change in the way you perceive yourself, in the way that you are perceiving yourself in the world, the way that you are behaving, your motives, your responses. We always want to aim to respond versus react. A lot of people are very reactional. A lot of people are just going and letting life come at them, and they react to that instead of being so in tune with your own self that you know exactly the way that you want to respond. And so this links me back to my first point that I want to start off with first. Point of attraction. Your reality right now, the day you are living right now, everything that is happening, the way that you are thinking, the experiences, the opportunities, the people that you are attracting into your life every single day. If you look around in your life and just have a little think right now, what is actually happening? What are the state of your relationships? What's the state of your bank account? What's the state of your health and your wellness? What is the state of your business or your career? That is all directly correlated with your point of attraction. Your point of attraction will, in fact, what's the word I'm looking for? I've just gone blank. Is something that is coming from your identity. That's not the word, but we'll come back to. And it is something that streams directly from your identity. And like I said, your identity streams directly from your consciousness. A lot of people just think they lean into the saying, and I'm sure that you've heard it before. They lean into the saying, fake it till you make it, right? I only believe that to a certain degree, because fake it till you make it suggests that you can just be like, put this band-aid on who you are, put this band-aid on your behavior, on your reactions, put this band-aid on your experiences, and just cover it up for a bit, get the dopamine hit. A lot of people, when they do the inner work, when they do the identity work, are actually aiming for dopamine hits. When you aim for dopamine hits, you're not going to have long-term success. Everything I do with my clients is about long-term success. We are grounded in ourselves. We're grounded in how we want to see our success. And so one thing that I teach my clients is, yeah, it's really good to get the instant gratification and it's really good to get the dopamine hit. But you know what's better is having long-term vision, long-term success. And so the work that I'm teaching you today and in the next live series at live training, and the work that I'm going to be doing in identity evolution is exactly that. Who wants to change just for 90 days and then it doesn't stick? No one. You do this in a work, you are doing what you're doing and you're responding to life the way you are because you really do want to make a change. And, all of this work is really for high achievers, ambitious, success-driven women. You've seen some form of success. You know it's out there for you. But what you're confused at is why right now you're not seeing the fruition of what you are perceiving as hard work. And this is exactly what your point of attraction is. Everything you're living today is a culmination of the last 90 days specifically. But of course, it can go back to decades ago. This is the thing with identity work that no one really talks about is, yes, it can be the last 90 days of point of attraction, but it is also the last year, the last 12 months, the last 18 months that is all coming to a point where it has formed your personality. There is a really, really good book, and I highly recommend that you read it or you listen to it. It's from Maxwell Maltz. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics. And it's very, very fascinating. So the way, I won't give away all of the book, what I will say to preface what other information I'm giving you today is he is a plastic surgeon. And what he realized is he was taking in these patients and he was, giving them a nose job, a boob job, fixing their jaw, their cheeks, reconstructing them as plastic surgeons do. And what he found is these people came because they're like, I don't like my boobs, or I don't like my nose, or I don't like the way my jaw sits. I need you to do something because I want to feel confident. I want to feel good in myself. So we did the plastic surgery. And after a while, he started to notice a lot of his patients were coming back to him and they were like, you've botched me. You've done a wrong job. Well, I don't feel any better. I don't feel any prettier or more handsome or whatever it is. And he's like, I haven't botched the job. You look exactly how you meant to. Your healing is fantastic. And what he started to research is actually these people internally didn't see themselves as the person that they were trying to construct physically. And so this is why going back to the same fake it till you make it won't always serve you, because you can construct yourself with new clothes, new hair, lots of makeup, but unless internally you are aligned with who you want to be and you're not putting band-aids on it, you're never going to feel any differently. And so something that I put here in my notes, and like I said, I've shared this with clients recently this week, and I was like, I'm going into the training because this is important. But you need to start with identifying your existing patterns. Most people, right, I know it's really, really easy to say, this is who I am right now, but this is who I want to be. This is how I want to look. This is the money that I want, the business or career that I want. This is who I want to be. And they kind of gun for the version of themselves. Not a bad thing. It's great to have a perception of who you want to be. In fact, I encourage it. I think when we look at the energetics, the work that I do is very strategy and energetic space. We need both masculine and feminine energy. But what most people do is they gun for that and they start and this is where we get into the quick dopamine hit. Think of any inner work that you've done, or maybe you've been sucked into marketing that's you will change this in 2 days, or, I promise, I guarantee. It's no guarantee in anything unless you are actually doing this subconscious work. That's why the woman mastery methodology is all about subconscious work. It's about how you perceive yourself at the root. And I'll give you an analogy for a second, but I want to go into this point that I put. You need to, and this is the first piece of homework I want you to go away with, you need to actually reflect on your current behaviors and traits and emotions. And the question that I got my client to ask is, what does my old identity protect me from? What are the underlying fears or beliefs that keep me rooted in this identity? Right. I'm a big believer of journaling when you're using it progressively. I think a lot of people use journaling as a form of spiritually bypassing. So we kind of just write down today I had a shit day, or, my ex did this, or this went wrong in my business, or, I want to be a money magnet. And I know that this is a good example. I want to be a money magnet, but I know that my parents said that rich people are greedy. I understand that. That type of journaling is what I call self-awareness. And most people, and you're probably like, well, self-awareness is good, isn't it? Most people aim for self-awareness. Most people want self-awareness, but what I want you to start aiming for, and this is going to help you so much with identity work, is actually conscious awareness. When you have a conscious awareness of what is happening, you start to understand yourself. And this is exactly why I've given you these two questions. So to repeat these, write these down. What does my old identity protect me from? And what are the underlying fears or beliefs that keep me rooted in this old identity? I have an insanely just powerful framework that I will be teaching you in depth inside of identity evolution. It's called the upside down why framework. This is insanely powerful to the point that not only do I have other coaches that want to use it in their teachings, I also have my therapist friends who use it with their clients. It is extremely powerful to understand old behavior, new behavior, in between behavior. And it's something that allows any high achiever to understand the unconscious reason behind the way they keep acting. But back to, and that's a part of this framework, that's why I'm sharing that. But back to what I said, I just want to bring this up. What does my old identity protect me from? So I really wanted this to be a focus, projection of who they want to be, and they focus on that. We really need to dive deep. Like, this is what inner work actually is understanding exactly who you are to the core. And so what I need you to understand is your behaviors and your traits and your characteristics now, your responses to things, your ingrained triggers. What do you just do? And, you may use the phrase, this is just who I am. This is just who I am. This is all I've known, or like I learned that, right? I say this with so much love because I used to say something like this. I used to be the one that'd be like, well, this is just who I am. This is what I've always known. This is just a part of me. Accept me. It's not good enough, especially when you're doing this type of work, especially when you are wanting to evolve, right? And this is why I've called the 4-week container identity evolution. It's about an evolution of your identity, but being able to recognize when you're doing yourself a disservice. This is what identity work is. If you have been getting the same results for the past 90 days, for the past 6 months, if you feel that you are repeating unhelpful patterns, whatever you perceive as unhelpful, as in it's not moving you forward, it's not progressing you, it's keeping you comfortable, it's actually keeping you exactly where you are. If you are someone who is more self-aware than conscious aware, like you're like, yeah, I know why I do that, or you use a lingo that's out there, it's just not good enough. If you actually want to make a shift and make a change, and again, I say this with so much love because I've been there, I'm sure I'll be there again at some point, but understanding, and this is what I want you to do a big session on. And if you come into identity evolution, we look at this, like I give you the mentoring time to understand and to look at, like, how can we change this for you? How can we make a sustainable change? And then from here, the question that I said, what does my older identity protect me from? This is exactly the type of question that is going to help you go deeper. What are you protecting yourself from? Another way to phrase this that I share with my clients, and I'll be sharing this framework inside identity evolution as well, is the emotional matrix. The emotional matrix basically shows you the range of emotions, and the goal is always to neutralize. So if you feel like you're a highly triggered person, if you feel like you are someone who is either living in fear, resentment, you are living in the fantasy, infatuation, this is the emotional matrix. And this is what I'll be teaching in the identity evolution. So a fear, we're going to back up for a second. I'm going to give you a bit of information to help bring this all together for this training. Anytime that you have a fear, and a fear is what I see most high achieving women. It could be fear of being seen, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of success is a big one with high achieving, ambitious women. And I know that if this is the first you've kind of heard of this, that can sound crazy, right? It's like, why would I fear my success? It's something that is very prevalent in ambitious women. Now, when you are struggling to change your identity, you're struggling to get the results that you desire, you feel like you're doing all of the work, you feel like you're putting in the time and the energy and effort and nothing's changing, more than likely you are living in a fear. You are basing your behaviors and your habits around the fears that you currently have. A fear, and this is what I teach in the emotional matrix, a fear is actually something that stems from a past memory. So a past memory has created a resentment. The resentment has created a fear that is projected out into a future imagination. So the fear isn't real. That's what I'm saying with this. It has come from a past experience. Again, I go through this in identity evolution, but just a little bit of background so you understand that fears don't just come out of nowhere. You're not all of a sudden one day wake up and you're like, I am scared to speak on my Instagram story because I'm going to be judged. It does not work like that. But what starts to happen is if we are taking all these past memories that are resentments and we are bringing them into our future as fears, we start to form a personality and identity around these fears. From there, for the question that I said, what does my old identity protect me from? Right? An old identity to you may be your actual current identity that you want to put in the old section. But what it protecting you from is repeating past behavior, repeating a past resentment. So a really easy example, maybe you have a fear of being judged, and that actually stemmed from the very first moment you can remember. You gained a resentment because back when you were 16, you got your hair cut, and let's just say you got bangs, and you thought it looked really, really good, and you're really excited, and you go to school, and someone turns around and goes, why did you get bangs? They look so bad on you. Like, why would you get that? Straight away, we have formed an emotional charge. That is a resentment. We've held on to that. And that starts to become our point of attraction, because what happens is then we dwell on it, we think about it. That's why it is an emotionally charged resentment. We hold it inside our nervous system. And then what happens? We form a personality, we form an identity. So then we attract another experience when we're 21 and we put on a different colored outfit and we're about to go out with our friends, and a friend goes, oh, you're choosing that to wear? That's an interesting color, but okay. Another resentment, another emotional charge, more to the fear of judgment. Now at 31, you have this fear of judgment and you think, well, I'm just scared of what people think. No, you've got a culmination of emotional charges that you're holding in your nervous system that has now created your identity, that has now created your personality and your point of attraction. And so you need to ask yourself, what is your old identity? What is it protecting you from? From, yes, being judged, but the work that we're doing in identity evolution goes deeper. It's like, okay, but what's the judgment? What's the understanding? I've had, examples from clients where they tell me, I'm so scared to post on my stories as starting a business because I'm scared of what my friends and family, when actually it came down to, they didn't feel good enough when they were 16 and they handed in a project at school and they got told it wasn't good enough. And it's actually stemmed from there. It's got nothing to do with their friends and family at that point in time. It actually stemmed from years and years ago. And so the reason I share this in this first day one, right? Day 1 out of 2 of identity mastery is because you cannot move forward with a brand new identity unless you understand where it has come from, unless you understand exactly what has created the emotional charge, the resentment. What fear has that created that is now defining your current reality and has a major identity? That's why fake it till you make it doesn't work. Okay, let me say that again. Fake it till you make it works to a certain degree. It works to make you feel it's like it's a Band-Aid, right? A Band-Aid, let's say I cut myself like here and I'm bleeding. If I put on right now in this live a Band-Aid, yeah, like it's all good, but like it's going to keep bleeding. I'm going to need another Band-Aid, or maybe I'll need stitches, or maybe I'll need to, I don't know, wrap it up instead of a Band-Aid. So yeah, it works for a period of time, but not for the entire time. And that's why most high achieving, success driven women actually revert back to old behavior or feel really, really good in the moment. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait a second, how come I was having such a good 3 months and now I've lost momentum, or I feel like I'm not getting anywhere that I want to be, etc. Drink a break. So what I put here, by identifying these patterns, you understand the real anchors holding you back, making the new identity feel more tangible once these anchors are addressed. And that's what it is. It's just like it's weighing you down. So I think anchor, what I put here in my notes is a perfect description. It's like, what are those anchors? You got to be super, super honest with yourself. When I do this identity work with my clients, I always tell them, drop the ego. Just go inward, drop into your body and just write, even if it makes you feel really kind of like weird writing it down. You need to get honest with yourself of what it is. So this is a starting point that I want you to start to explore. And I promise you, this starting point is the most important. And in fact, it is the point when it comes to subconscious identity work where I spend most of the time when it comes to identity work with my clients, because it's that important. We go back and forth and we workshop because you need to have a well-rounded understanding. And I just remembered the analogy that I was going to share with you earlier when it comes to this subconscious work, belief, identity, whatever it is just imagine that you are a flower and your old beliefs, right? Sorry, the subconscious is this flower that's dying and you need to actually take it out of the root, right? Because it's dead, you don't want it anymore. What most people do is they will just put band-aid, grass over their old subconscious programming. And then eventually what starts to happen, the weeds grow up, the flower grow up, and it will be all infected. So what you need to actually do is get to the root, understand it, identify it, not shame it, not judgment, love. It served you at one point, it was protecting you at one point, but now we no longer need it to move forward. We want to dig that out, put it away, and then we can put brand new grass over if we're using this garden analogy. Does that make sense? So I think like start to think of it like where, another way I see it when I do this work is, where am I just laying grass over all these dying flowers that are affecting this soil? And like and that's, you'll see it in your behaviors when every 90 days looks like the same, or you've been trying to do the money mindset work and your bank account hasn't grown, or every time maybe you attract a new client and then all of a sudden you attract an equal bill, or maybe you are dating and every guy seems like they have potential, or gal seems like they have potential, but then you attract them, you go on a date and they're exactly the same, every single person. This actually happened to me. That's a great example. When before I met my partner, everyone that I was going on a date with, it was like a carbon copy of the same problems, the same issues. That wasn't something that I wanted to attract, right? And then you go into the victim and you're like, well, it's them, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not that. We're not going into victim. We know we can change who we want to be if that's what we desire to do, if we desire to be better in ourselves, whatever success we're looking for, let's aim through our subconscious programming, our identity, to create this long-term success. So I hope you've gotten something from this. Any questions, let me know. I think inside the broadcast channel, you can't actually post a question. So you can send me a DM and I'll answer it via live, or it's either tomorrow I'm hosting the next live or the next day. And if you want to dive even deeper, where we have like the one-on-one workshopping time, the good thing about identity evolution, what it is, it's 4 weekly group calls. You get to submit questions, even if you're not on the call live because of the time zone. You get to submit the questions, and you can submit as many as you want when it comes to identity. You can start doing this work. I give you some frameworks and some concepts to look at, and you can ask as many questions as you need to when it comes to this level of consciousness, the emotional matrix, subconscious reprogramming, all of it. And I go deep, deep, deep. There's no like, okay, 60 minutes, that's it. It's like, if I need to go a bit over, you get the recordings, by the way, is I will go over and I'll explain it in depth, because there is so much goodness in all my concepts and frameworks. So any questions on that, slide into my DMs, or you can sign up via the link in my bio and we can go from there. But I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you in part 2 either tomorrow or the day after. Bye.